Greetings and hello, I'm Casually Phil the Fifth, coming today to talk about something that I think is very important. America needs a change in direction. Now, as it may or may not be obvious to you if you've been reading this page very long, the NSIR is a Catholic, social, political, religious movement, which first and foremost cares for Catholics and for Catholicism and its defensive propagation. However, being that many of us are Americans, it does tend to be a country we focus on a lot. We have members all around the globe, and I hope that trend continues along with growth in the United States. But technically speaking, myself, I am an American. I bear witness to more things that go on in America than anywhere else. Um, so I can speak with more, I guess, authority when it comes to America than I can when it comes to dealing with anything else. Because I don't live in these other countries. I only know what I know by word of mouth, and most of what goes on there does not affect me personally. However, being that we are a Catholic social, religious, political movement, I believe that one of the major things that needs to change about the United States is a conversion of hearts and minds and souls to the true faith. That's what I believe would help us most, just in a general facet. And because I care about the salvation of souls, I think it's also very important that we achieve that. We need good priests, good clergy, good bishops, good religious to act as missionaries to this country, which is sorely in need of missionaries as much as it was when Catholics first came to this country and colonized it and settled it and worked within it, long before English Protestant colonizers ever showed up. And we have a big problem. If Baltimore, Ferguson, all these riots have not displayed that by now, I don't know what will. Let me just clue you in. America has a problem with race, okay? The fact that African Americans make up a huge section of the poverty sector in this country, and poverty breeds crime, and therefore policemen deal more often than not with, people of color, when it comes to arrests, crime prevention, things of that nature. Biases and prejudices have been allowed to foment that have gone unchecked. An us versus them mentality has emerged, particularly when it concerns white police officers and not black ones. Um, a just a huge divide has emerged. African Americans who have been stuck living in poverty, have slowly begun to, by reason of, culture and, identity politics on the part of politicians, have begun to resent their white neighbors who they see as better well off, who they see as other, who they do not see as being like them. And whites have come to blame African Americans for crime, for lax morality, for all these other things. And it just goes on and on and on and on endlessly. And it needs to stop. Because first and foremost, everyone in the United States of America who bears American citizenship is an American. Yes, it's true. America was founded by white people. Okay? It's true that the framers of the Constitution were slave owners. This is 100% true. However, without getting into the difficulties of all that, I would like to say, and I feel like people can agree with me, America has grown since then. We've changed since then. We've become different. We're similar in a lot of ways, but we're also a lot different. We've changed as a nation. We've changed as a people. We've changed as a culture. And some of that is not for the better. Some of it is race equality, rights to minorities. We've made serious strides in that department. But now we're taking steps back. And before I provide a solution, I feel like I should diagnose the reason for this problem. You have several different Americas in America. Ethnic groups have carved out for themselves their own little niches or niches where they can express themselves and maintain their culture and keep it because they feel threatened. They feel somewhat threatened that they may be assimilated and they may lose their culture. We've seen this with Italian immigrants, Irish immigrants. We've seen this with African Americans in the last several decades. A revival in black culture and black art, and we've seen it grow from being a cultural exploration to almost oppositional to white culture in some places. White American culture, I should say. Most white Americans are very out of touch with their European roots, which I think needs to change. We, as a nation, as such, due to the fact that America was founded on very nebulous Enlightenment ideas, we have grown to be a nation of just individuals. The only guiding principle that seems to guide all Americans is do what's best for you. Individualism. America had no real culture at the start. The closest we ever got to a culture was during the War of 1812. In that general era, America started borrowing a lot from Napoleonic France, in terms of art and in terms of clothing, military uniforms, these kinds of things. And that's interesting to see. But what's happened though is because in the last several years, America's lost that connection to Europe. We've lost connection to our roots. You know, Say for the immigrants who didn't necessarily lose, connection with their roots, we've just been witnessing a general, just America doesn't know who they are. What is an American? If you listen to the rest of the world, it's a fat, stupid, ignorant, bigoted, moron who doesn't know anything who has no consciousness of the world outside of his own little continent. No, doesn't even have knowledge of, the political situation in his own continent. He knows nothing about Canada. He knows nothing about Mexico, and yet somehow, even though they know nothing, they are expected to have all of the power and all of the authority anywhere they go in the world, even though they're absolutely ignorant. And this is the problem. Americans are not self-aware. They have no culture. What is the culture of America? What is it? Define American culture. I could define Mexican-American culture. I could define Italian-American culture. I could define Jewish-American culture, because they all have things and ideas and practices that unite them as a people, a language. What do Americans have? We don't really have any of that. And that's a big problem. For a nation that's as big as us, that is practically an empire of multiple races, ethnicities, and things, for us to still not really know who we are, that's a problem. And it's a problem that needs to be fixed, because you can't have, even a inclusive empire that doesn't know who they are, that doesn't have a set of guiding principles or ideas that unite everybody together, a point of unity. America, what is America's point of unity? The Constitution? People disagree about that all the time. Our shared rights? Well, what does that exactly entail? We all know what we're allowed to do and not allowed to do. How does that unite us in what we're allowed to do and not allowed to do? Because everyone chooses how to exercise those rights differently. Hell, some people don't think we should have those rights. Some people think we should restrict freedom of speech. Some people think we should restrict, right to bear arms. There's some people think we shouldn't restrict those things at all. There's a huge divisiveness. So these two things, the Constitution and the Bill of Rights, don't unite us. Our history, we've had for the last several, that could be the case, but for the last several years, America has come to hate its own success. The importation of third world ideas into the country about politics and things have caused us to hate ourselves. We've come to hate our own success. We've come to despise who we are and what we've done, when really we have no knowledge about these things at all that's even workable. We barely even know names and dates, much less what occurred. We just know enough, apparently, to tell us it's bad, and that's bad historiography. You don't just learn enough about an event to dislike it. You have to learn everything, because there may be something you missed, maybe some detail that you overlooked, or you might have otherwise known that might have changed your opinion. And at present, with our history, what happens is all we know is Hello, testing. Okay, we had a very strange technical hiccup there. I'm just going to keep going. When I re-edit the video, I will find where that hiccup is, and I'll just post a link to it in the description so you can pick back up. Um, but yes, we've had a huge crisis in our historiography and a huge crisis concerning what we believe and who we are. And with our own, we're one of a few nations in the world that's expected to hate our own history, that debases ourselves to erroneous degrees, and it's absurd and it's not healthy for a people because it's created this detachment it's created a detachment among young Americans from what this country is or could be. They have a serious detachment from the political process, from local and national. They have a huge disinterest in their own history and their own identity. The only thing they seem to care about, the only thing most people seem to care about, is their next buzz or fun or luxury. The endless search for more luxury just to bury how empty everyone feels, and that's not a healthy existence. I think what Americans need to do is they need to sit back and they need to realize something, particularly when it comes to race relations. In the end, we are all just Americans. To the rest of the world, you're Americans. To Africa, African Americans are Americans. They're not Africans. To most Oriental countries, most Asian countries, Asian Americans are Americans. They're not Asians. You have Asian ancestry, but you're not Asian. It's you were not born in Asia. You live in America. You've lived all your life in America. You've become part of American society, and that's something people need to realize. We're all on this boat together. Okay, whether we like it or not, we're all stuck with each other, and we have to find a way to get along. And I think the way to get along with that is we have to find a point of unity, whatever that may be. My suggestion is, of course, as for one matter, Catholicism. It's a universal religion that goes far beyond just race and ethnicity and skin. In fact, that was what was so revolutionary about it in the early medieval period and to the Roman Empire. It was not a religion that was based on the earth, that was based on, culture or, a region. It was a universal religion that anybody could be a part of. And that was what was so different about Christianity and how it changed the game so much in regards to religion. Um, and speaking of Rome, America is at about the age when the Roman Republic decided it was going to become the Roman Empire. Uh, my suggestion would be monarchy. Would be that at some point we're going to have somebody come up. I'm not suggesting myself. We have to have somebody, a Julius Caesar, a moral, upright person who believes in America, who is a strong leader that cares about what is harmful, what is beneficial and or harmful to America, not what's left or right. They want to do the best possible thing to make America stronger and healthier. They don't care about anything else. That's the kind of leadership we need in this country. These political elites are not giving us that. They're exploiting the situation right now. Right now in Baltimore, they're exploiting the situation. For votes, for support, for the next election. If they're not already, they're thinking about how to do it, and it's disgusting. We need a change in direction, a change in direction that will probably not happen in a republic or a democracy. But assuming that an American monarchy is a long time in the coming, I would like to suggest that perhaps we need to, just redefine American citizenship. We desperately need to all sit down and decide that, what is, everyone right now who's born in America is an American. And they all have certain inalienable rights inalienable rights and duties and responsibilities, and it needs to be a new law. We can't just use the Declaration of Independence or whatever. We need a new law, a decree of sorts that we can, put on plaques, in places, and we can, give it a nice name, so that, nobody, or the citizenship decree, so that, nobody can say that, there is a system of racial oppression, because there won't be. It's clearly laid out that one does not and should not exist. And with this one law, we can start applying it to situations where all Americans should be considered Americans first. Their race, their ethnicity is a identifier. Like it's a physical descriptor. It does not define your privileges, your rights, what you can and can't do, where you can and can't go. What defines that is that you are an American citizen. That is what defines that. Not your ethnicity, not where you come from. This is what defines you. You are an American citizen. We need a revival in our historiography. We need to take a second look at American history, and we need to learn again. We need to be honest about where we messed up, but we need to also look at the good things we've done and the potential that we have. We need to forge ahead to a brighter future. And just to bottom line it, every historian that I know and, that I've worked with recently, coming into the academic field, as a student and, getting to know professors and historians better, every historian I know looks at our racial situation and says, this is bad. This can go nowhere but bad if it continues like this. Because this is the thing that destroys empires. This is the thing that destroys nations. Okay? This is what does them in. Lack of cohesion, division. This is what rends them apart. This is not what makes them new. Even if, let's say, the riots in Baltimore really are a revolution. Let's say the outcome of this revolution is an all-black federal government controlled by these people who believe this, right? What are they going to do? Are they going to oppress whites? How long before whites get tired of that, try to overthrow you? Until this endless back-and-forth game emerges wherein, nobody wins. It's just because people don't bow down to overwhelming force usually. They generally don't. You can repulse them, but in their hearts and their minds, they will still resent you, and they will live their lives that way, and that will dictate all their decisions. It will dictate all of the choices they make. So, what we need to do, we need to redefine American citizenship. We need to redefine what makes us American, and we need to come together as one and realize that, hey, this system really sucks now, but if it falls apart, we will never have a chance to get it right. We will never have a chance to make it better. And, like I said, I believe in a Catholic feudal monarchy. That's what I believe in as my chosen form of government. Do I think that would work very well for the United States of America? Yes. Yes, I do. But I don't think we should force it on people. I think it's something, much like healing the racial divide in America, that's going to have to come about because you're changing hearts and minds. That's how it's going to have to come about. It's not going to be, the violent overthrow or oppression of one group or another. It's going to have to come about because you have to convince people that, hey, this isn't right, or hey, this is right. We have to convince people that there's a better way. There's a right way to do this. And really, that's it. That's the bottom line. America has to unify, find a point of unity, and they have to stick with it. May I suggest Catholicism? Yeah, the church in Rome right now is pretty messed up, but hey, things can change. And the right leadership, things could really turn around. And I look at the situation in Baltimore with the riots and everything, and it's just bad. This is bad. This is not how things are going to work out. Being that that the NSR is kind of a political outlier, I like to think we're pretty unique. We have our own ideas about things that most people don't. Essentially, I get my news from lots of sources. I try to understand the full scope of America's divided situation in politics. So I get my news from lots of sources. And do you know what I've seen with these riots have accomplished? It's accomplished the sudden brazenness and growth of white supremacist organizations. It's caused the sudden rise and growth of black nationalist organizations. It's caused division. It's caused argument. It's caused distress, consternation, all across the board. It has not caused people to look at the plight of African Americans and say, oh, this is so awful, we need to fix this. It's caused people to say, enough's enough, because they don't want their livelihoods destroyed, they don't want their businesses destroyed, they don't want to be hurt, they don't want to be murdered, they don't want to live in fear. That's what I've seen. I've seen very little sympathy garnered for African Americans in Baltimore because of what's happened here. It's only made things worse. I understand that many black communities live in a disadvantageous situation with poverty and crime rampant. And I would like to be a part of any program that seeks to fix that. I would like to be a part of urban renewal programs, community organizations that want to clean up their communities, put a stopper in crime, create job opportunities, But I strongly believe these kind of movements have to be led from the grassroots. I can't just come in with several people and say we're going to fix this community. No, it has to be in cooperation with people in the community who are business leaders, who are owners, who are landlords, who are, important government officials who are willing to work with the community to make improvements, to, change how the situation there is at this moment. That is how it's going to be done. It's not going to be done by force or by federal government programs. It's going to be done when the communities themselves decide that they can do better, and when people are willing to help them try and do better instead of, say, sabotage them. I remember reading about something once. They called it the Black Hollywood or something, and it was this really affluent black community in Southern America during segregation, and the KKK burned it down. They burned the community down. That's not going. We don't need shit like that. We need people, whites and blacks together, to come together as Americans, not whites and blacks, as Americans, and say this part of America is hurting. It needs help. They need better representation, or they need jobs, or they need infrastructure repairs. Better infrastructure. They need sanitary living conditions, whatever. We have to come together and we have to fix that. We have to fix this situation. We have to make something else a reality, an improvement, a market improvement, not just for blacks or for whites, but for everyone. And in closing, the thing that scared me the most about all this is the rise in the radicals. Radicals are becoming more brazen, more bold. They're using situations like the Baltimore riot to advocate for their side. And I know the power that radicals in politics possess because they grab onto your emotions, they make you feel things, and then you go with those feelings. We don't need to do that, okay? That is not the direction to take if you want a positive growth in American politics. That's not the direction you want to go. That's not how you want to do this. We need solutions not based in politics necessarily, but based in what is best for America, what is best for all of us. Because to the rest of the world, we're all just Americans. We're not African Americans or Hispanic Americans. We're Americans, American citizens. That's what we are. And if we don't unify, if we don't come together and say enough's enough, politicians, foreign powers, radicals are going to take advantage of our divisiveness and truly exploit us for their own gain.